Hi, folks. I really hope you can hear me because today I'm actually using my webcam, which I never ever use. It's like I got it and I just put it away and I don't use it. I usually use my mobile phone for these videos, but today I decided to try to use my webcam. Now, I know it's been a little while since I got with you all. I was out of town for some time, and I did intend to get something up here for you all while I was out of town. It's just that I ended up going to a workshop about like healing, love, womb healing, yoga was involved, meditation, and that pretty much shifted my energetic trajectory for the remainder of my trip. So I was really basically in my feelings. And when I'm in my feelings and or not feeling well, I tend to not do any readings. Now, after I got back, well, before I even got back from my trip, I started feeling a little thing going on. Now, when I fly, I usually get sick. I try to combat that by having ginger. I usually have a ginger drink before I get on the plane. I try to get something during the trip and then, of course, when I get back. But I didn't get around to finding any ginger drinks during my trip, so it wasn't surprising that a few days in, namely the night before I was supposed to go home, I had the going on. And it did turn into a full on cold. I am unwell as you sit here looking at me. But the reason why I decided to do the reading for you anyway, despite being unwell, was because I really took the time to care for myself in a way to help facilitate my personal healing. So I got up and I had tea and I hydrated. I rested for a while. I did my meditation. I got in a salt bath and I prayed and I sat in the hot water and I had, my candle and just things to kind of let impurities out, things to calm things down, just very nurturing, healing things that I was doing for myself this morning. And I said, I got a little tiny bit of energy from this. Let me do this reading. Since I did take the time to get my vibration up in order to do anything at all, so I said I'll do the reading. So here I am. And since I wasn't feeling well, I chose the healing deck, Whispers of Healing. Isn't this just beautiful? I love it. I love the colors. I love anything with butterflies. Like it's just lovely. So I did this deck today. And the card that I ended up with, it actually popped out the deck during the shuffle. So I'm shuffling and it just slid right out cleanly. So I said, all right, here's the message. And the message today is alternative. So in the image, there's one fairy repairing the wing of another fairy. And the meaning of this card is basically alternative healing. Figuring out and trying other ways to get well that may not only be medicine from your doctor. Of course, there are plenty of times where we do need medicine, from our doctor to help stabilize any conditions that we have. But in order to maintain wellness, there are things that we can do to continue on feeling well in general in the absence of medicine or when the medicine is done, or a way to help us transition from medicine. And it's good to use a combination of whatever works for you, but don't forget about holistic methods as well. And I'm happy that this is the card that came up, because this is the very reason why I'm here right now, sitting and giving this information to you. And simply because what I got up and did was basically holistic healing. I have not yet been out in a couple days, really, to try to get any type of suppressant, because sometimes when you're coughing and coughing and coughing, it gets really raw and rough. And it's not so much about you want to stop having, well, you do want to stop having a cough, but sometimes you need a break. And Or if you're going to work or you have to be somewhere or do something outside the home, you might want to take something to slow your cough down a little bit so you're not coughing all over the place. I have not had an opportunity to go to get anything to help me, so I might be a little coughy, sniffly, anything, right now. I'm sorry. But that's why I'm here, because I got up and I hydrated and I had tea and I sat in that hot bath with salt, and it made me feel decent enough to finally go and pick up things that I need that I have not been able to do. Don't forget about alternative healing. And another thing this card signifies is a transition from darkness to light. And now spring just started not that long ago. It's starting to warm up in places. And what I've been hearing from some people is that they feel a little bit sad around the springtime, like just a lingering kind of a sadness, a melancholy feeling. And to me, that makes sense, because what I feel with springtime is everything that we've been sitting on, everything that we've been working through since back from hermit season, everything that we've been doing, it's now time for it to get up and get out. The latent energies, the stale energies, anything heavy holding us down, it's time for it to shift. And in order for it to move out, it does have to shift and make a flow out of you. So it makes sense to feel a little bit down. I've been feeling, like I said, doing that yoga and the womb healing and all of that, shifting things around, did change how I felt energetically. It made me want to withdraw a little bit from people. I have not been in communication with very many people for the tail end of my trip, even up until now, because I have not really felt like being in the mix in that fashion. So I'm just honoring myself and my feelings and taking the alone time and just trying to rejuvenate and trying to wait for a lot of these sticky stuff, the mucky stuff that I've been working with over the past few months to kind of release. You might be feeling that way too. Another thing this card signifies, what jumped out for me, and this was from my own intuition from reading the card and looking at it and the description and the darkness and the light, I see it as inspiration. Recently, or maybe soon, you have probably been inspired by something or someone, something you heard, something you saw, something you discussed. You may have been opened up to a different way of looking at a situation that you have not looked at it in any other way before. You may be considering things you never thought you've been considering. You may have received answers to certain things you were not sure about. That's what I get from this card as well. It's light. Something has been revealed to you, or maybe revealed soon. But that's what I'm getting. Like, we're getting some insights, we're shaking things up, the sun's shining, and it's time to really go forward now. But go forward with keeping in mind taking care of yourself. So, since we were on the subject of alternative healing, I'll share with you sometimes what I do, what I put in my salt bath. You can use your sports salt. You can use salt infused with essential oils. I do that. Like, this doesn't have to be fancy. I'm going to be honest with you. It does not have to be fancy. You can just get some nice hot water and salt from the pharmacy, and that can be your salt bath. Good. But if you want to add a little bit more to it, you can use essential oils, depending on what I'm trying to achieve. Like today, I was not feeling well. I needed to lift, so I put spearmint oil in it. I put wild orange. I use a liquid in it as well. That's for purification. I get it online. It's like a bath liquid. I use something called Jadiance. Another thing that I do is I light a candle. I'll put some stones around. I'll do some incense. But in the water itself, you can put things that resonate with you. I put rose oil sometimes. I'll boil down red raspberry leaf, rose hip, and roses. And I'll also boil red hibiscus and put that in the bath too. Be careful with that though, because it will stain. It will stain. But a good cleaner, like I try to use as much as I can, the environmental cleaner when I can, but I haven't completely got on that wave. But when you have to clean out staining from using infusions in your bath, I find that those commercial type cleaners that are not the best gets the staining out very quickly. So that's what I do with the salt bath to help me feel better, to bring my energy up. And also it has other benefits too. Like it can really help you with your pains, your skin. When you're done with the salt bath though, make sure you are hydrated. You should always be hydrating anyway, but hydrate extra. I'll often have a cup of water right there next to me in the back because the salt can be very drying. So make sure you are hydrating. So I just wanted to give you, just a little thing that you can do if you're feeling stressed out or you're feeling sick. Salt bath really helps when I start feeling under the weather. I just didn't have an opportunity to do one on vacation. So I wanted to share that with you. If you have any more questions or any questions at all about, some of the things that I do to try to maintain my sanity holistically, you can just let me know. You can just make a comment, email me, etc. Juice with the absence of champagne. That's how you know I'm really, really ill. Okay. So I have something else for you. Since I have been able to give you the reading, when I wanted to, I decided to do another one. And this one I'm using, of course, my new fave, the Love Deck. Love Deck. And one thing that I want you to know about when I do these types of readings is that what I'm actually asking the universe, spirit, mother, father, God, keepers of the light, I am asking, what would you like me to convey to people who are watching my videos? What would you like me to share with my community? And I'm learning that I'm being pushed and guided to share more about what I'm doing, what I have going on, my journey, and efforts that it might potentially help others. So when I looked at this Love Deck and the card that I picked for it, I said, whoa. This card's extremely relevant for myself. So this means that what's happening in this card, I need to open up a little bit about and just share it with people who are tuning in, because maybe they're going through it. Maybe they have questions. Maybe they never heard of it and it's something new for them to consider. Maybe they did hear about it but just wasn't sure how to go about it, what to do, or that it was a thing in general. The card I picked up was Legacy of Light. And this Legacy of Light card is significant for me in that it's basically saying that I am a light bearer in my family. And I'm forged a connection with spirits that are helping me to work on my ancestral karma. Now, ancestral karma holds on for 7 generations. So we all carry 7 generations past of trauma, situations, issues, how people were, like that made us, and everything we pick up in our lifetimes where we will pass down. But there is a possibility of clearing that. And that's one of the things that I've been working on within my family line. And there are different ways you can do this. And of course, it's best to go internal with your intuition. have a very good meditation practice. If you suspect that there are repeating patterns in your family line, you can do something about it. And it can be as simple as, and this comes from, the cards. That's how I got some of my inspiration as well. You can pray about it, journal about it, ask the ancestors to support you. Yoga with the intent. It's really all about the intention and the connection. And having unresolved karma passing through our ancestral lineage affects us in the present. You may have issues financially and see those issues persist with your mom, your grandmother, your dad, your uncles, for the men, your brothers, that you may see the same things, the same similar patterns with romantic relationships. Things that happen to you may have happened to others and others in your family. Like you just see these things that are the same, like over and over and over again, and you can't you can't seem to get out from under it. It's there in everybody you seem to come into contact with in your family, especially in that grandfather, father, son type of line, grandmother, mother, daughter type of line. And me, I have, we have a good amount of generations walking around with my family. My grandmother is still alive. She's 70 and fabulous. And then I got my mom and me, and I have my daughter. So this is very important for me to do. And I encourage you, any of you who feel stuck or you feel caught in certain limiting beliefs, or that's just the way it is, to step outside of that and shine light on the areas that seem stuck and stubborn, because that doesn't necessarily have to be the way that it is. And it's worth a shot, it's worth a try. But when you sit with yourself and you really think, what's been hanging on in your family that no longer serves you, no longer serves them? Think about it. And one of the ways that I got to the point of recognizing these patterns was I had ideas about it before I even got on this spiritual path. I had ideas. But what really helped me was things like inner child healing. And I hope those of you who've been tuning in with me for a while did discuss some of the inner child healing. Just the things that I'd mentioned that you could potentially do to help you out in that regard. I hope that you had an opportunity to do so. If you have not, if you watch some videos back, you'll be able to get some insight on that if you have not started that already. And so that's what I wanted to share, and I will certainly let you know if I have any breakthroughs. I do have to say that, I was mentioning how my energy took a shift when I did the workshop about love and the womb, and it makes sense in the context of my ancestral lineage healing, simply because the womb is what connects women in the family, mother to daughter, you know. It is the womb. And when you do womb work, for me at least, it felt like that is an entree into very deep healing of ancestral karma. And the last thing that I wanted to mention, and it pretty much coincides with the alternative healing, that type of thing is very important to me because it's looking at healing from a very holistic place. And that's one of the reasons why I'm trying to do the things that I do. That's why I have the yoga certification. That's why I do sort of a bit of, guidance or just information sharing through these cards, through these readings that I give to people. It is why I'm working on a meditation certificate. It is just the reason why I'm entertaining all of these mediums, because they're all healing modalities. And that's what I want to bring to you. So part of that journey is also letting you know that what I'm sharing is certainly what I'm doing. I'm walking my talk. And part of that is what I learned from Sister Shawnee Gibson is exposing yourself to expand yourself. And I'm learning this, that I was a very private person. I'm still pretty private, but that's coming down because I'm noticing that the more that I open up my mouth and be the one to say, well, you know what? Yeah, other people feel compelled to share, or they feel a connection, and it's healing. That is healing. When someone's holding on to something and they're afraid to say it because they feel like it doesn't matter, it's not important, or they may sound silly, or they're overreacting. If someone else stands up and they're like, well, you know what? No. Or yes. Or I'm confused. That makes people feel more at ease. And when people can release what it is they're holding on to, that's healing. A lot of us hold on to a lot that we want to convey simply because we feel guilty about sharing it, or feel we won't be taken seriously, or feel no one's listening, and just a bunch of ways that we talk ourselves out of expressing ourselves in a certain type of way. And when we hold that in, that can cause illness and stress and all kinds of chakra imbalances. So being the one to step up and say something, even if it may leave you in a vulnerable place, even if it may just expose you, it can help with someone else's healing. It can help with your own healing. It's an expansion. I expose myself to expand myself. Namaste.